Hi y'all, it's Becky Raisler. I have Becky's Journals on Instagram and on YouTube, and today I'm going to show you my current project. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm figuring it out as I go along, and I thought I'd take you with me. So I have these really old bingo cards. They're cardboard, thick cardboard. They've got cool little sliding windows on the front. They're from the Veterans of Foreign Wars in my town, New Braunfels, Texas. And the backs of them is where they date stamped. They last used them in 1985. Anyway, I am determined to use these somehow as a journal. And these little slidey things are kind of in the way for adding a new spine, which I may do, I may not do. I haven't figured it out. But I think what I'm going to do is do a tab binding. And I just watched Treasure Books, Natasha over at Treasure Books. I just watched her most recent video where she did a tab binding, and as opposed to sewing it in with the twine. And I am going to, I'm pretty sure, but anyway, I'm going to tell you how far I've gotten and show you what I've done so far, and then tell you what my plans are going to be. So far I have picked out the colors that I'm going to be working with, and the binding is going to be navy blue, and then I'm going to have some other dark blue accents in fabric throughout the book. I had these scraps that I wanted to use, and then I had quite a bit of this blue fabric that I can use. So I started and I pulled myself a whole bunch of strips of the fabric that I had and made myself little 1-inch by 2-inch tabs. Will that be the right size? I don't know. I've never done a tab binding before. But anyway, I'm going to figure it out. And if it doesn't work in the end, I'll end up doing a fabric spine, fabric covered spine. But so I've got all this fabric that figured out from my scraps and what my fabric stash I had. I've got some tabs figured out in case I end up doing the tab binding. I thought of all kind of things, drilling holes in them because they're quite thick. The size on these things is 8 1/4 inches tall by 7 1/2 inches wide. So I figured my pages need to be 7 3/4 inches tall. That'll give me a 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch at the top and the bottom, and then 7 inches wide. That'll give me a 1/2 inch on the width. And I do that because when you stack all the pages together, they get thicker and thicker and thicker, and you end up having to trim off the edges and all that. So if you just give yourself 1 inch or 1/2 inch, it works out a lot easier for me. I don't have to do all that trimming at the back end. But I picked out a whole bunch of paper that I had, and I wanted it kind of rustic. So I went through and I wanted the papers to be heavy because I'm going to do some mixed media work in this journal. I've decided this one is rustic enough that I think mixed media will do well in it. And I'm going to use red, white, or off-white and blue. And in this, it's going to be my color scheme. You can see I've got some pages. This is kind of reddish. It's more pink than red, but it's also more tan than red. So I've decided that I'm going to go with kind of an off-white, I've got some black paper here, and I've got some reddish paper here, red papers that I'm going to work with. I've got some manila colored, gold manila color papers that I'm going to be working with. I've got some kind of orangish, and this is actually pastel paper, I believe. But I want a heavier paper, and this is almost cardboard. This paper is so thick. It's almost cardboard. So I have a roll of this, and I need to use it up. So I thought, well, I'd just use some of these. And I don't normally use brown in my books, but this one is going to have brown in it, and tans, and navy blue, and kind of a medium blue gray, and black, and red, and then sort of a maroonish red, pinkish red in it. So I've started cutting my pages to size, and I realized that most of my pages, because I need a 7-inch wide folded page in my journal. This is going to be an odd size journal, kind of a large one, but a real odd size. So I'm going to have to go through every single page because, of course, my papers are only 12 inches wide at the most. I do have 11 by 14 papers that I can work with, but I couldn't find anything that really went with the color scheme in the 11 by 14 stash that I have, other than this. This was 11 by 14 paper. I'm going to have to Frankenpage, extend the pages. And here are some of the pages that I have done so far. This is how far I've gotten. I've decided, okay, I know I want thicker pages, so they'll take some wet media if I decide to use paint or markers or some kind of wet media. So I'm using heavier grade papers. This is another paper that is a pastel paper from a pastel pad I have, and it's heavier weight, but it's not as heavy as I would like. I've rounded the corners of it. I've made it. This one is 7 inches tall. I didn't go 7 3/4. I messed up. I meant to, but I didn't, so no big deal. I'm going to use this paper anyway. So it's 7 inches tall by 14 inches wide. So I rounded the corners, and I used Vintage Photo to do the inking around the edges. This one is also the same size. I did not round the corners on this one because I was thinking that I would probably end up adding some lace or something to the edge, but I may go back and round the corners before I put the book together. But here's the Frankenpage. It is a piece of sheet music, and then the part that I cut off, I just turned it to its side and glued it on there, so it would be 14 inches long to give me a 7 inches page. So I'm going through, and every page that I put in this one is going to have to be altered in some way. I've never done my journals this way before. I know a lot of people make their pages and group their signatures together before they make their covers, but I've always made my covers first. And that's what's kind of throwing me on this, because I'm trying to do something that I've never done before. Here's another form of Frankenpage that I made, this to size. It was from a piece of 12 by 12 decorative paper, and then I just added a piece of paper on the end there to extend it. And then on the back, it was all white, and I decided that I had this old workbook from a children's workbook. The pages are really, 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 really thin, and this is cardstock. And so I went ahead and lined the back of it with this really thin paper to cover the white. And this is one of the pages that I think that I'm going to do a little mixed media on. I think that I'm going to use some paint and just sort of blur it around to push that print into the background, because the print is so bold that when I go to work on it, the bold is a little bit too much for me, more than what I want on this. It stands out too much, so it's too much contrast. So I'm gonna use some paint and push that print back into the background more. And when I get to that, I will show you how I do it. But I like the way this glued down real easy, and I like the weight of how this turned out. So the paper, it's really, really lightweight cardstock, this checkered paper. So I've got this thin paper on the back, so once I add paint to it, it is going to thicken up a little bit more, and I like that. So this is the right size. These are the ones that are going to be the smaller size, and I do have quite a few that I cut the smaller size short, and I'm going to go ahead and use them. And why not? You know, they don't all have to be the same size. So this is a piece of wallpaper border, and it's good and heavy, but it's still pretty flexible. But I'm going to it's 7 inches wide this way and about 7 inches tall. So probably what I'll do is I will back this with something, or else I'll paint it with something. And when I get around to using the paint, I'll show you. But anyway, I wanted to show you what I had done so far, so you would see where I'm going with it. And I thought you might get a kick out of it. This is all the pages that I've got left to extend and alter and cover the white backs and all that. And so once I get through doing all that, I'm hoping to have about at least 14 pages that I'm going to put in here. But I hope you'll come along with this journey with me. And the next time, I'll show you how far I've gotten along. You have a great day, and I'll be right back. Hi, y'all. I'm back. It's been quite a few hours, days, since I did the first part of this video. And I want to show you where I am in building this bingo card book. So I've got all my pages done, and that's how big it's going to be. I made, let's see, I made 18 pages, including the front and back covers. And I'm counting those, excuse me, I'm counting those as pages because each page is going to have a certain number of tabs on it. Every other one is, well, the first one is going to have 3 tabs, and the second one that opens up, there's going to be 2 tabs. And that is how you get started in making a tab binding. But first I wanted to show you the pages that I have built, and I had to make Franken pages. That means I had to take a sheet of paper and extend it with some more paper to get it the right size, because I needed, most of my paper that I have is scrapbook paper, is 12 by 12 inches. So, but I needed 14 inches to make a 7-inch page. So every one of them is extended, and I thought at first that it was going to look weird, but now that I have done it, I have decided that it just adds to the cohesiveness of the whole book. So I'll show you how the tab binding is put together in a little while. But first I want to show you the pages that I have built. Some of the pages I accidentally cut 7 inches tall, and I meant to cut them all 7 3/4 inches tall. So I am going with that mistake. I guess it's just serendipity. There are no rules, so it's not a mistake. Keep telling yourself that, right, Becky? But anyway, you know, you do something and you don't like the way it looks out, or it's not going to work in your particular situation. You just do something different. So this is what I wanted to show you. Now, each of my pages is, rather than being a single page, they're a folded page. And most of the YouTube videos that I saw, they did the tab binding with single pages, but I recently watched Natasha's new video on making a tab binding. She did her first tried out tab bindings, and she found that you could use double pages as well as single pages. So my pages are going to be double or folded pages. And we're going to see. Now, this is the first time I've ever done this. I'm going with the flow, and it's going to work out just fine. I keep saying that. So here's the pages. Here's some vintage sheet music, and this is the bottom just turned sideways and glued down right there. It was a large piece of sheet music. And see how the tab binding is going to work? It's going to line up just like that, and then this one's going to come over, this one's going to come over, and this one's going to come over and be glued down. And these other two will go on this one. So anyway, here we go with the pages. Some of these pages I've added stuff to it. I'm big on texture these days, and I like paper that looks textured. I used a lot of stamping, and in some of the pages I've gone ahead and added fabric and lace and different various textures to it just to get it started. It inspires me. This page I finished with a pocket, fabric pocket, and texture on this paper doily. The extended page there, that looks like it's supposed to be that way. I like the way that turned out. This one I glued a piece of paper onto it that gives me an idea where I'm going with it. This one I've got a collage and a flip out on the front page. Opens up. I've gone ahead and done some work on the collage on the inside. Don't know if I will continue working on it or whether I'll just leave it like this. But all the pages are in color coordinate. Well, the whole book is color coordinated. Dark blue, navy blue, and kind of a bluish gray, red, and a kind of a dark maroony looking red, and then lots of different beiges, browns, and golds. So those are my main colors. There's a little bit of green in there, like right here, and there's some other colors that kind of fit in there, but for the most part, like there's black pages. This one's going to open out like that. I could glue this down and make a pocket right here, but I'm thinking that I may add another tip in and have another fold out in this one. So I haven't decided yet, so I'm leaving it. But I did make myself a tab and a piece of scrap lace that I had, or fabric that I had, stamped on this page. I've not used any wet media. I've just used inking and stamping so far. I am going to be doing a little bit of mixed media in this one. There's going to be some paint splatters, ink splatters. There's going to be some painted pages, but I just haven't decided how many pages and how much wet media I want to use. I've gotten where I just don't like cleaning paintbrushes and don't clean it up after the paint mess. So we'll see what when I do this one would look good with a little bit of paint around the edges to make it all come together. And this one is stenciled. I had a mark on the paper, a dark mark on the paper that was sticking out, and it was bothering me, so I just stenciled right over that puppy. This one does have the pocket glued down. If the paper was thick enough, I just glued the strip to the edge. If it was thin paper, I glued one side to the edge and then folded it over to the back side and glued it down to give it sturdiness. More than one page to give it continuity. More than one page is stamped. Multiple pages are stamped. This is a spread that is done, has completed. I just got started and didn't want to stop, so I didn't. And when I finish it, I'll give you a flip through of the pages as far as I completed. Now, this is the one that I originally had said I was going to do mixed media work on, use some off-white paint and rub it around on it, and I'm still thinking about doing that, but I'm going to wait until I decide what other pages I want to do the wet media on, because I'll do it all at once, so I only have to clean up once. Okay, this is a piece of a wallpaper border, and the back side of the wallpaper, I just used a big texture looking stamp that I had, a block stamp that I had, and just gave it lots of texture rather than let it be solid one color. This page was solid. I couldn't stand it. I had to add something to it, so I added some vintage handmade lace, piece of lace that I had, and this old paper. Here's another one that I've got started. It's going to have a flip up writing spot there. There's another. I try to put texture on every page. It's just that's what looks good to me. But you know what? You do what looks good to you. And here I'm going to show you something I did that I didn't like the way it turned out. I had this white piece of paper that I used to, with the words on it, that I used to cover up that extension. So I thought, well, I don't really like the contrast of the bright white. And I was thinking, well, you know, I could paint it, but then it would look funny because this side's not painted. And so I just got the bright idea of taking my ink applicator and rubbing with brown, and where I had glued that paper down, all those swirls, that's all the glue pulled through, showed through when I rubbed it. And I do not like that look. So what I have decided I'm going to do to fix that is just cover it with some texture. And this is one of the things that I have decided whether I want to do it that way. I think I like it this way best. In this book, I'm not going to have a lot of lace hanging off the edges, but I am going to have fabric and lace and different kinds of textured materials in the inside of it, because I want this to be more of a art book or an artist book than a writing book. So there's going to be places to write on every page, but most of it is going to be decorate. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to glue that down over top of it. You'll still be able to see the words through the eyelet holes. So that gives it some interest, some visual interest. Another stamped page. And this one has a large fold out with sheet music, that vintage sheet music that I happen to have. And this one is just started. I couldn't help myself but doing a little bit of decorative work on that page. But I've got the background paper ready to work on. And that's the back, what's going to be the back of the book. I haven't decided how I'm going to finish off the covers because it's got these hard little plastic slider dealies that stick up from the book itself. So I really don't want to put anything down on top of that. I may do some kind of little collage down here to cover up that. I haven't decided yet. So the next thing I'm going to do, now that I've got my pages all hooked together, I am going to start putting my book together. And the first thing you do, you got to have room for 5 strips, because the first page has 3, the next page has 2, the next page has 3. You know, you alternate with the tabs. I'm using these cloth tabs that I cut out. I figured that if I have 18 pages, that I'm just guesstimating how many of these tabs I needed to make so I wouldn't be caught short. Hopefully I won't be. I figured 18 pages, and so that's that would be 9 of them are going to need 3 tabs, and 9 of them are going to need 2 tabs. So I multiplied that all out, and I came up with 45 tabs. 9 times 2 is 18, and 9 times 3 is 27. Added together, it's 45 tabs. So I made 45 tabs. We'll see if that calculation, if my math, it actually works or not. So the first thing you do is you glue that down. Then you flip it over like this. And then you take your next page and you glue your tabs top side up in the center. And once you've got that glued down, once you got the tab edge glued down there, and I'm using Fabri-Tac glue, you line your page up to the edge like that. You flip it over, line your page up to the edge, and you take the first tabs from the first page and you glue it down. One there, one there, one there. And I'm going to do it with you. Okay, line it up best you can. Put you some glue, put you some glue, and put you some glue. And you don't need a whole lot of glue. If you use too much glue, it will bleed through your fabric. Okay, and that's what it'll look like. Once this has had a chance to dry, I will go up and add a little glue so the edges are stuck down. Come on, glue. You can do it. The glue is cooled off here. It had been like 105 for 3 months. It cooled off here, and my glue is thickened up. So it's going to be 95 again today, but it got down to, see, and it's going to lay flat, and that's how it is. And my next page that I take, make sure that it's upright. My next page, I will glue down 3. So we'll have one up here, one up there, like that, one here like this, and I'm lining them up to the previous pages best I can. Also, since these pages are different sizes, I'm being careful that these pages, I measured, it was about, gosh, what, 3/4 of an inch from the top. Maybe it's going to be a 1/2 inch because of the difference in the sizes there. But then we'll have one here. Okay? Now I'll glue those down, flip it over to this side, and then pull these two up. Okay, I'm gonna do this off camera, and then I'll show you how it turns out. I did it. It's put together. It's not finished. I've got lots more to do to it, but I'm so excited I finished. And let me tell you, this was not easy. And I made some mistakes or opportunities to change things, but I'm real happy with the way it turned out overall. And I think I did pretty good for a first time, but this is what it looks like. And no, it's not perfect. Everything's not all lined up, but you know what? I'm okay with that. So I'm going to show you some things I learned about doing a tab binding. For one thing, is the spine is not stiff, it's wonky, you know, so it might be better for smaller journals because it sort of wobbles around. Excuse me. Also, the fabric is going to stretch a little, so I didn't make a lot of effort to finish all the pages completely, because I'm really looking forward to working in this. So let me show you how it turned out. One thing I learned at the very end, I learned something. When you start with gluing down your these three right here on the front, and then you flip the page over, and then you put your new one in there on the side and glue down 2. So you got 3 and you got 2. And the way that I calculated the number of tabs that I was going to need was perfect. And this is why. When you finish up at the first, you're not going to have a tab, your tab isn't going to stripe all the way across like it does on this one. And that's because every other page is interlocking. The tabs interlock with every other page. So what I did was, when I got to the very back, that left the 2 on this one, and then the very front, the first page has 2 on it. And so what I did was, I had 2 tabs left over out of the 45 that I made. And so what I did, because I didn't like the way that looked, it didn't look, you know, like all the other pages looked. So I cut each of those 2 tabs that I had left over in half and glued it right there and right there. To make it look like it's supposed to be together. And that's what I'm going to do right here. I'm going to glue this tab and this little thing right there, and it'll look like that page is tied in. Okay? The other thing that I learned while I was doing this is that it's really easy to make mistakes. And there was 2, 3, maybe even 4 times. I didn't keep count, but there was multiple times that I put the glue down in the wrong spot and even stuck the fabric down, tab down. But then when I looked back and I said, okay, here's 3, this is supposed to be 2. Here's 3, the next one's supposed to be 2. I realized that it was the wrong spot. And if you rip it up real fast before the Fabri-Tac is time to set and dry hard, you can get it off there and get yourself one of these glue erasers. If you're going to do a tab binding, this is going to, you're going to put the glue in the wrong spot on multiple occasions like I did, you need a glue eraser to pick up the glue. And it worked great on all different kinds of paper that I mistakenly put the glue down in the wrong spot. I was able to salvage each tab. No tab got stuck down in the inappropriate place. Every one of them are in there. They're not lined up really well. If you want to measure to make everything exactly lined up and perfect, that's up to you, but this was enough work for me. And if it's, I mean, it's handmade, it's not supposed to be perfect. And if it's, you know, if perfect is for machine made. And so I'm not, by the time I get to decorate and everything, you're not going to even see any of these things. But these glue erasers cost, I think it was about $5, and it lasts forever. And it was worth every penny. I got it on Amazon, and just a glue eraser. I just searched glue erasers, and get yourself one of these. You need it. You definitely need it. Okay, and so let's take a look at how it turned out, wonky and all. And now I'm gonna redo this. I still have to decide how I'm gonna finish out the covers, the front and the back covers, and I need to figure out a closure. I did not drill a hole in this in advance, but this lays flat. Well, it's supposed to lay flat. There, it lays flat. But I just couldn't decide whether I wanted to punch out a couple of these holes in the back and put a ribbon through and tie it in the front. I haven't decided on how I'm going to make my closure yet. And you know, you just don't have to. And I'll worry about that some other time, because right now this how it needs to be done is all I can deal with. So I'll glue these down, and then I'll start decorating the pages. Now, some of these pages I already have decorations started on them, and I've used a lot of scrapbook paper in this, and I have rounded all the corners on every page, and I inked every page with Vintage Photo to make it look like it's all one book, you know, like it's all supposed to be together. Details. So I can't wait to start playing in this one. Actually, I have started playing and decorating this one. I started with collages on some pages, and I've got some fabric and texture on some pages. I'm real pleased with how it turned out. The next thing I'm going to do is put some more interactive elements into it, more pockets and flip ups and fold outs and tuck spots and all that kind of stuff. But this is fun. This is real different than what I normally do. It's even different in the coloring. Here's the spread that I finished out completely. Lots and lots of writing space. But since I limited my color palette, I thought about my color palette beforehand. See, that kind of bothers me. That's uneven there. It's not lined up. But when I go to do something with the page to decorate it, I will do something that camouflages that. And no, I haven't used any wet media yet, but I decided I was going to put the book together and work with it all together because I couldn't decide exactly how I wanted to do it. And you don't have to. Everything doesn't have to be done all at once, nor does it have to be done to perfection. You know, that's the thing. This is more of an art. It's not a job, you know. It's supposed to be fun. So don't worry about the minor imperfections, because by the time you layer so many layers of decoration and writing papers and all the other things you want to put into it, the different ephemera and what have you, you're not going to notice the imperfections. And it just gives it charm. It gives it character. I'll do a complete flip through once I've completely finished decorating and putting this thing together. But I've got, see, this is that page that I didn't like the glue showing through, and I glued down the trim over the top of it, and you can still see the writing up underneath the trim. You can still see, if you look closely, you can see the glue stripes too, but it's not noticeable. It looks almost like it's supposed to be that way. So you can always add more layers. And this page right here was kind of center paper, and it poked a hole in it right there. I don't know why, but probably had to do with how I placed, how close I placed the pages to the edge of the book, the back of the book, how I lined it up. So anyway, if you've never done one of these, I would recommend, of course, the glue eraser and the figuring out the total number of tabs the way I explained worked for me. And I'm just going to take a break for a little while and decide what page I want to play with first. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is fix that, because that's bugging me. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and give it a thumbs up if you liked this type of thing, and I'll do more like this, process videos. I don't normally do process videos, but if you liked it, let me know. It lets me know what types of things, you know, people want to see. Now that I've turned 70, I've slowed down a lot, and I don't do as much as I can. And to those of you who have bought journals from me this year, I don't push selling my journals. I do have some for sale. There, if you go on YouTube and look in my playlist that is Becky's Journals for Sale, is the playlist. It'll show you the ones I currently have available. But I don't go out of my way, because every time I sell one, my husband has to do the legwork. He has to go get the box, and he has to haul everything to the post office for me, and because I don't drive anymore, and I'm now limited mobility. I don't get around very well around the house even. Yes, I have slowed down. If you want one of my journals, I'll surely give you a price and a shipping quote. These fit in a medium size United States Postal Service priority mailbox. I'll have to double check. Yeah, this one is 7.5 inches wide, so I think they're 10 by 10. So yeah, it'll fit. But anyway, if you're interested in my journals, all you have to do is leave me a comment on the video for the journal that you want, and then send me a direct message on YouTube, not YouTube, send me a direct message on Instagram at Becky's Journals, or on Facebook at Rebecca Roesler, Roesler, and let me know that you're interested in getting a shipping quote for a total for that journal. Thank you so much for watching. You have a fabulous day, and happy crafting.